Hello, everybody, and welcome to Becoming Invincible podcast. I am your host, Tahlia, and I am so excited to have you here. This podcast is to reframe your mindset, challenge those limiting beliefs that you may have when you're navigating all the situations in your life. And I'm here to give you tools to help you navigate them in such a healthy way and to harness your personal power that we tend to lose along the way. So settle up, get ready, grab a coffee, and get ready for some juice in each episode as I throw you what life has thrown me and we can navigate this shit together.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. My voice is crazy pants, but it's actually getting better. I have had a bit of laryngitis lately and it's basically going away, so all is good. I wanted to just do a episode that's more chilled out. I feel like sometimes consuming so much content of educating so much, I believe it can also burn us out, and especially with what else we're consuming in our day. And I really wanted to do this relaxed, laid back episode of talking some different topics, but just talking a bit more realness, maybe even like stuff that I've like working through and have worked through recently. I just feel like maybe that will even, I don't know, just be something different. And I think I'll just put these episodes every so often and then I'll just see how they go and if people want more of them and things like that, because it's good looking at my stats on what episodes get listened to the most to find out what you guys are sort of liking or wanting and all those sort of things. So this episode, it's April, and so the month of April is C-section awareness month, and one of my friends posted about C-sections because she's had one and I had C-sections with both of the girls, and I really wanted to talk about this and just to be a little bit more real in my podcast too. I mean, I have been, but I think, like I said, talking from my experience, what I've learned, with studies and stats and things like that, it can just be a little bit too much, whereas this is like literally relaxed. It's like a coffee with one of your friends kind of chat, because I am a human too. So she shared this page about C-section, and I have been, like, people have made comments to me about having a C-section, and I just think it's so silly. And I don't know, because I believe that a C-section happens not always with choice, and I didn't have a choice. So when I had a C-section with Scarlett, I had placenta previa, basically. It was just like a mild version of that. And so what that means is, by the way, for those that are like, what the hell is placenta previa? It is where the placenta completely covers the cervix and the baby cannot get out unless if the placenta goes through first. And that was going to happen for me when I had Scarlett. But the placenta wasn't completely all the way over the cervix, but it was enough in the way that would happen. There was still part of the cervix showing and they just didn't want to do the rest. So I was like, yep, okay, C-section it is then. And so, yeah, and then obviously the girls are 14 months apart. So when I had Nevi, perfect pregnancy in the case of she was a perfect pregnancy. Like with Scarlett's pregnancy, I was so sick up until 16 weeks. I could only eat literally a boiled egg. It was just horrible, every meal. And oh my God, I tried to eat 2 because, just not eating was so foreign, because I'm I'm pregnant. Aren't you meant to eat heaps? Which is a myth. For those that are listening to this episode, that's a myth. Anyone goes, oh yeah, when you're pregnant, you just eat what you want. No, it's definitely, in both my cases, no. You graze a lot, but actually eating so much is just not a thing. If I ate too many meals, oh my God, I'd feel so sick. It was more just grazing throughout the day. I had a meal, snacked, depending on the day if I felt like lunch or not. It's either I'm snacking still or I'd have lunch and then snack. It was just like that, because generally I was in the first trimester. I wouldn't eat much at night because I couldn't keep anything down, because between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock was my time in the bathroom. I would not, it was just horrible. It wasn't morning sickness for me. It was nighttime sickness, and it was just horrible. Anyway, and then Scarlett was a tricky baby with reflux and so much going on. And so with Nevi, amazing sleeper, she's just the baby that is the ride along of like, yep, I'm along for the ride. And her pregnancy was so good. Like, it did not have any issue. I could have just birthed completely normally, but I didn't, because obviously the girls are 14 months apart. That's still so early for a VBAC. And obviously VBAC means to push without having a C-section. Anyway, like you had C-section before, but then pushing on your next like birth. But yeah, it was too risky, because those of you that don't know, that the reason why you wouldn't push on the second time if it hadn't been that long, because it's maximum 18 months is the minimum for that, whereas it was 14 months. So I was 4 months too early. But the reason why, if you were to have a VBAC and, push the baby out, there's a chance that you could rupture the incision, because obviously you're not just slicing the top part of your skin, like you're going through so much muscle and so many layers of skin. You're having open surgery that it takes time for your body to heal from that. And so that your scar could burst. It's like a whole thing. So that's why it's always good to leave a fair amount of time. I had people make comments like, oh yeah, you took these way out with the sunroof. And it's like, that's a funny way of looking at it. I would prefer to push them both out, because recovery of C-section isn't that great. Scarlett, I got addicted to the oxycodone that I got given and prescribed from the hospital. With her, I got a lot of meds, like a lot. I had tramadol, I think it's called Vitarin or something like that. And I had no idea that I was developing a bit of an addiction to the oxycodone. And I had slurred speech, and it wasn't until like I was up breastfeeding her in the middle of the night, and I feel like there's like shadows following me. It was really weird, and I just felt not there. I was like, I feel like I'm so out of it to really help her. Like, what the hell? And so I was like, I think I'm having like an addiction, because then the next day I noticed that I needed to have the tablet. It wasn't the fact that I needed it because I was in pain. It was actually the fact of like, I needed it. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, no. And I threw it in the bin. Didn't care. I was like, I'm throwing them in the bin. I'm not going to, like be addicted to this. And so at that time I was alone with raising Scarlett. That's when everything sort of started with the story of the person I had kids with. The recovery with Scarlett, like I pretty much recovered. I'm very blessed. I recovered really well with both girls. But, I mean, could also be a number of things. I feel like because I was so heavily medicated with Scar, I think I just was easy to get up. Kind of like I wasn't feeling much. Whereas with Neville, I did things so differently. So also when I had my C-section with Scarlett, I was numb till my neck. I'm not kidding. I even say that in my birth episode. So I did a whole birth episode. I definitely deem both of my experiences positive, even though things like this happened. But because it wasn't traumatic in the sense of like, oh my gosh, like we almost died, like some people have, Whereas for me, it was just like, okay, Tahlia, you need to control yourself, because if your heart rate elevates, then hers does too, right? I was so acceptable to the epidural and the spinal tap that I was like, oh my gosh, that the lady was trying to talk to me, and I was like, look, I can't swallow. I have no function of my throat right now. And they just told me to calm down, because I was starting to stress out, because obviously having no control over your body is actually quite scary. And especially for your first time. When I had Nevi, I wanted to do things differently. I wanted to feel a bit more like, because I did not feel them at all, like push on my belly to get Scarlett out, because generally guys, for those that haven't had C-section, obviously the curtain's up there like in the movies, but it's not as far away as what the movies make it out to be. It's like right there in your face. It's pretty, it's just pretty vulnerable actually, having a C-section. You're lying on the table completely vulnerable. You have like a curtain up right in your face. Both arms are completely flat on the bed. You have no control over your body because they've given you an epidural and spinal tap. And you're literally just like completely surrendered. Just have no choice in that. So it can be actually quite confronting. But again, if anyone's going to have a C-section, you're going to be completely amazing. I feel like what went in turn with my recovery so well with Scarlett was the fact that I found a C-section group on Facebook at that time, because it was COVID time. Like COVID time just happened the year before, but it was still a lot of lockdowns, a lot of restrictions still, because she's January 21, it's still in that time frame. So was Nevi a bit, which was kind of weird being 2022, but a lot of hospitals still had their restrictions up in early 22. Well, here in Perth anyway, for those that don't know where we are in Australia. And so when I found that Facebook group, it was actually quite positive, to be honest. I would ask so many questions in that group, preparing myself, watched a lot of hospital bags, birth vlogs, all the things. Even when people weren't having C-section births, like I was watching it all. And I remember just asking so many questions, and there was just so many women that were like, yeah, no, positive experience. There was so many women that actually had 6 C-sections. I was like so gobsmacked by that. I was like, what? They go, yeah, you'll be fine. They don't recommend that, but it happens and it can happen. And they were just so positive. And I really believe that also helped with my recovery, because I asked a lot about recovery. I was really nervous, and they really were able to support me in that. And I feel like when you can find something like that, it really helps change the perspective a lot more. And I feel like that's how I was able to sort of recover from both C-sections, because having that experience. So when I went into Nevi, when I went into the hospital to have that C-section, I said to the anaesthetist, I was like, look, I had a really crazy experience last time, and I was numb to my throat. I just want to make sure that doesn't happen again. And could you use a milder dose? I'm happy to feel things more. And anyway, they ended up having no record. So I chose to give birth at the same hospital for both of my children, for the reason being because I couldn't get the same OBG. So I was kind of like, it's fine, but she recommended the next best. So I was like, awesome. And I went there because, the same hospital, they'd have the history. And they definitely didn't. So the lady was like, there's no history, I'm afraid, but I just am asking for you just to trust in me. I have been doing this for a long time. She had the best customer care, honestly, and she was just like, I have been doing this for a long time. Are you able to trust that I know what I'm doing, and I am so capable and knowledgeable enough that the dosage that I normally use for C-section patients, that everything will be okay? Can you do that for me? And obviously you just don't really have a choice. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, okay. And she's like, it's going to be okay. And it was. She did the best dose, where the fact that I was aware of everything going on, I could feel the tugging and things like that. And it felt like the most surrealist experience, but also like a really cool experience, because I didn't feel any of that, having Scarlett. So, and then I recovered really well from Nev, because, not only because I had to get out of bed for Scar, but also just having that mindset of like, yep, I can do this again. It's okay. It's about listening to where you can move, because you're always restricted in where you move, right? As a C-section, you don't realize how much you use of your abdomen, of getting out of the bed, of even moving. So when you're making a coffee in the morning, for an example, you have no idea how much you use your abdomen for that. You would not think, but making a coffee in the morning sometimes, honestly, if I would jolt or move very suddenly, it would hurt. And I learnt my limits. I was able to go, okay, I wasn't as medicated in my recovery with Nevi. I'm learning my limits. Okay, I've got this, taking it slow and easing my way. Whereas I had to sit down in the shower when I had Scarlett. It was just, it was horrible. Whereas with Nevaeh, I didn't have to sit down. I could handle things a lot more. So it's definitely it really helps when you seek out positive groups saying hey, I'm about to go for this and I would like some positive experience. Thank you. No, that's what I said in the group as well. So that's why I obviously got positive, but there was women on there that actually did negative too. They didn't listen to what I said. Anyone who is going for one, if they're listening or completely knows what I'm talking about, resonates in whatever way it could be, it's amazing that women can just birth children through them anyway. And it's such a life-changing experience, but also we actually lose sight of how serious it is. Otherwise, things could just happen. So in Australia, we did a little TV series called The Offspring, and I loved it. It was such a cool, funny, rom-com-y Australian series of an OBGYN, her delivering babies and all the things, because that's her niche, right? And just how randomly people can just go. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell? And like, just out of nowhere, she's like, I don't know what happened. She was fine. And just that sometimes people just have no idea. And so that is a thing that happens as well. And also that wouldn't be talked about. Not mean to steering this episode to be like morbid, but yeah, it's just kind of really amazing to be like, holy shit, I birthed life out of me, however that looks, C-section or not. I think we're always just as empowering as each other. And I think when people want to shit on people being like, oh, you took the easy way out with a C-section, it's like, do you have any idea of a recovery? Because clearly you are very uneducated that you think that would be the easy way out. Like, come on. Like I have no way, I can't ever imagine how hard it would be to be pushed at your freaking limit of like tiredness and, to push a baby out. I couldn't even imagine that, honestly. Like, oh my gosh. I feel like all mums who give birth, we're all powerful and we're all amazing. And there needs to be not this shit on like, oh, you had a C-section, so you're less than. A lot of people just really want to put presence to that, we need to get out this like sort of shaming thing of like society, and it all comes into so many things society talks about, like, you're less than if you don't do something in some way, or like you're less than if you just want to be a mum to your children and enjoy it. Like, how crazy is that as well, You have to do it all. You have to work, look after the kids, and be a doting wife/partner. Like, it's just impossible, right? The things that we get judged for these days in society. But yeah, so I just really wanted to share that for like C-section Awareness Month. And also, so what I've been sort of navigating, I went through this like weird phase in a course of like 2 months sort of thing. And it started because I had like people that I know and that I really want to like me. I'm trying not to give too much away because I actually don't even know who listens to my podcast, that people know me. So trying to keep this under wraps. But anyway, it was really hard to sort of be like, oh, okay, like they're judging me, interesting, on my platform and how I show up. And I'm like, okay, I'm not doing anything to them, and I haven't said, I'm not actively doing anything. I'm literally just being me. And that hurts when you have platforms and you become online. Of course, like it's a thing, and it's always going to be a thing. But it's also just like, oh, okay, I feel like if it was strangers, no problem. I don't know them. Because when I have had strangers like shit on me, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know who you are. But like, when it comes to people that you know, it's kind of like, oh, okay, like I'm trying to get in good books with you and you're not vibing me. Okay. And it's hard, and not for everyone. Throughout my life, I've actually been less for people than more than, if that makes sense. Like, more people have disliked me or just been like severely activated by me than people liking me and wanting to be my friend. Like, massively. Because either I people please my way for them to like me, then grew out of that and they're like, holy shit, who's this person? Or like, they don't really vibe with you, don't really like you, and you're not my cup of tea. So it really like sort of depends. And then obviously I have people that go, wow, love your vibe, freaking connect, blah, blah, blah. Like, of course. But yeah, so when it's people that it's kind of like, okay, kind of want to be in the good books with you, but okay. And the fact that you're not doing anything, they're looking for something, that was really hard, because I was like, okay, well, you're actively looking to hate me right now. Completely understand we all have a past in that, but I'm a completely different person. And I feel like as well, when we can compare people to our past and people that we've known, it's also really good to take in account of, people are very vastly different. Are you actually seeing for that person for who they are than actually what you've experienced in the past, right? It's just like a little moment for me where I was like, okay. So it started with that, and then it made me sit back a lot more. Like, just in general, like I sort of was off my platform a little bit. Like, I have, not on here, obviously, like still producing podcasts, but with my content and like with Instagram and that, I was sort of off. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to have a break here, because like I don't even really feel comfortable showing up now. No matter what I talk about or post or whatever, it's going to be taken in a different way than what I mean, because they have yet to get to know me. And so I was sort of like fighting with the fact of like, no, keep doing you, you know who you are, but also like, oh my gosh, like I feel massive imposter syndrome. I can't do this. Like, they're right. Okay, fuck. Like, And I felt, when I reflect on that and experiencing and feeling into all those emotions at that time, it's sort of unfair because, I had my platform before I even knew these people. And this is the thing as well, like I had my platform before I know certain people, right? And it's unfair for people to come in your safe space, right? And to throw shade essentially, or make up a false narrative of you when you're just like literally just being you and expressing. So it's really hard to kind of go, okay, well, hang on a sec. This is my platform. Like, you don't have to be here. You can literally unfollow. Why are you watching me so closely? You know what I mean? And reflecting, yeah, like I said, on that time, yeah, it does feel a little bit unfair, but also it was a beautiful thing that happened because it made me rethink so much in my life. And so I've been going through something where I only want to put my energy where I feel it's met. So like with friends, I have certain friends that don't get back to me, won't get back to me, don't even listen to my messages. And I get that it's life and that, but sometimes I'm like, I carve out time to reply, and I totally get we all don't have the same amount of time and stuff, but like I try really hard to make time for them, when I can, and without doing the whole like victimhood of like, I'm a single parent and like I have 2 kids on my own and I still make time for people. And that's my red flag. And I'm honest in that, where that can come about with me, where I'm just like, I make fucking time. Like, do you think I'm just sitting on my ass waiting for people to message me? We all go through it. We all have cortisol and we all live a cortisol life, right? And what I mean by that is that there's so many active stresses happening in the world. Like years ago, right, when I was in my 6-year relationship, I was living a very hard cortisol life where I was working 6 days a week. Yes, 6 days, because hairdressing, massage barbering. Yep, there's no rest for the wicked there. So 6 days a week, we were saving to build a home, and then we we're going to get married and all the things, right? And so like I was working 6 days a week and trying to prioritize a relationship in that time. We got the house, right, built and stuff. And then the next thing was like, okay, we're going to get married. And it just never felt like, no matter what we accomplished in our relationship together, it was never enough. It was like, oh, next thing, next thing, next thing. So that's what I mean by living a cortisol level life, because we can all be so consumed in the next thing, next thing, next thing, that we're actually not even focusing on the journey, what we're doing now, and being like, oh yeah, we're working towards this, we're working towards this. And then we get so caught up in the future too much that we're like missing out on what's happening right now. So then when you get to the future of like, oh, cool, I achieved that goal, what's the next thing? You realize, holy fuck, like when did my kids grow up? Right? And that can be put into so many different people's lives. We've all felt that. We all feel that daily, like it's a whole thing, right? So that's what I mean. I don't really want to see certain people because I'm like, well, constantly don't get back. It kind of just like annoys me, where I'm like, okay, well, I prioritize you, but you don't prioritize me, right? This is like happens in our life from time to time. So I've just been seeing people that I feel like I'm in alignment with, and, I really just want to be more focused on myself and my little family that I have with my partner and like all our kids together, and just really like kind of focusing on like just the happiness now and what I have yet to obviously work towards in life, but just really want to put energy in my business, like my online stuff. And I'm actually doing a certification behind the scenes to become certified as a somatic practitioner, right? So what that means is to help people through like somatic practices. So how I talk on my episodes and I say that it's good if you work with someone and they can like take you through a process, because that's helped me so much. I've always wanted to learn more about our nervous system, what makes us tick, how our brains work, everything like that, and trying to educate people in a way without being so scientific, but also relating in like what I've accomplished. It's what I've experienced in my life. You guys can be like, oh shit, it works because Charles has gone through that. You know what I mean? I'm really excited doing that behind the scenes, and so where I want to go in my life, and where I want to leverage this podcast to be for community, and that just to really focus on all the things that light me up. And I am loving it, and also being more present. Those of you that listen to the overthinking episode, and I've been actually saying, okay, I'm going to make the lunch now. Yep, okay, and then I'm going to make myself a coffee, and then I'm going to do this, and I recite it all in my head because it keeps me in the present moment. Because sometimes we can get so lost in our thoughts and distracted that I find talking to myself in my head, it keeps me in the present moment. And you don't have to do that forever. It's literally just doing it for right now, so you get used to witnessing your life for right now. Because I've felt like, oh my gosh, how am I going to juggle it all? We all feel that in our lives, right? And so the coach that I'm working with the certification, and she's like helping me to be like, okay, Tal, let's like reframe. Sometimes you just need people to see it in a different light than how you see it. Because I've said before, for us as women, we take feeling as facts. And so sometimes when we're pretty stressed with like so many things we've got to do, however we feel in the moment or feel towards what's happening, we actually get clouded by that and feel like, oh my gosh, it's actually factual. So the story you're telling, like however you're feeling, like if you're feeling, anxious or frustrated or scarce or like, oh my gosh, you feel like that's happening and that's like, oh my gosh, that is what's happening. That's facts. That's truth. When it's not, it's just your emotions. And your emotions take over and it feels cloudy. We've got to understand that us as women, easier said than done, that feelings isn't facts. We've got to separate the two, but men are so good at that because they're like hardly emotional really. So they're very logical and able to do that, whereas we struggle really hard in that. So it can just feel too much. So then when you have someone to like really hold your hand and go, okay, let's like work through this, you're able to like through it and be like, okay, yeah, I see so much clearer now. She reframed for me, think of the person you were 3 years ago and how much you've evolved since then and you've grown, because we all grow and change, right? And she's like, seek inspiration from that. And I have, where I'm like, wow, the version who I am right now, I am her. I'm sure we've all heard that term, I'm her. So I am her, whereas 3 years ago me, I was always like, am I going to be happy again? Will I ever fall in love again? I don't even know what my next step is. Am I ever going to get out of this mess? Like, it was a very hard moment for me. I was very scared and I had no idea what was going to happen next, no idea what was happening. Like, it was just so much. And my mindset was like trying to battle through it all. And I don't even know if I'm going to ever be normal again from this experience. And so when I worked with people and really worked on myself, that version of her back then, being like, oh, will I ever become that version? I am that person now. So it makes you excited for what's your next version of her to say, right? So it's always really interesting when you reframe and you think like, oh my gosh, who was I 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even a year ago, and being like, holy shit, I'm a completely different person. And like, I wonder who I get to be a year from now, 5 years from now, you know what I mean? And that's like the joyous part of life, like kind of being playful in that. And I feel like when we can be playful, be like, oh my gosh, I'm excited to, who I get to be next and what I get to do and things like that, Yeah, so I wanted to share all that. I just feel like, yeah, it would resonate with people who need to hear it. I appreciate you guys listening, and let me know if you guys like an episode like this, just calm and just like a chat and just waffling on and not necessarily educating, just so then we can get like sort of a sense of each other. And over time I'll be able to like do question boxes and be able to answer questions more and things like that. Like, I really want my podcast to be interactive, but I know being so new, you build your community and things like that, and I know it will take time. So I do want to get it to a place of like answering people's questions, doing Q&A episodes and all those sort of things, and like really utilizing it and then slowly branching out to bigger. Anyways, I appreciate you guys listening to this episode. Real relaxed one, kind of probably a rambling one, but just so you can kind of get a little bit of a sense of who I am as a person. And don't worry, you're not alone. Like, we're all experiencing life in however way that is. I appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you all on another episode.